Has the expression cardiac canes, is that a thing? Has that been used? I'm sure it has. But there we go. 2 straight pulled out of the fire. And now a bye week to get better, to get healthy, to get ready for the stretch drive of the ACC season. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football, our Canes Live show, and the guy that makes it all happen for us, of course, Cam Underwood from State of the U. Cam, has the heart, have the palpitations subsided at all? You know what I did? You know what I did late in that? No, it was not late in the game because I was actually on during the game.
Yeah.
I then got done before, even though people were clamoring, stay on till the end of the game. I was toast. I'm done for the night. I watched the last 5 minutes of game time after the show, and then something triggered to go to your Twitter feed, which then you obviously propelled everyone to the State of the U Twitter feed, and I checked out your thread because I thought, what was Cam saying at 35-10?
I mean, look, yes, I'm used to it by now, and everything. And we've had cardiac canes in pretty much every sport. Basketball had a lot of close games, in the last couple of years. The second half of last season went terribly for the basketball team, but even still, baseball, they call it mark like magic when there's a late comeback or, a walk-off or something at the baseball team. So yeah, hey, it goes like that, man. So it was one of those things. But, at 35-10, I was just wanting to see the real Miami Hurricanes show up. That's really what it was. And for as much as Cal wants to say, one play here and one play there, and we know we win the game. Okay, cool. It's also crazy that they hit every shot play that they had dialed up, and because they were swinging for the fences and they were hitting 500-foot home runs. They had the 4 longest pass completions of the year. Right, their previous long had been 46. They had 4 completions of 50 or more. I think it was like 220 something yards of their 260 passing came on 4 plays. Like, it was just, and one of them was, we went for it on 4th down, great play design. They made an incredible play. Elijah Arroyo, I need you to take that flat route to 2 yards, not 1 yard, and allow them to tackle you short. But the next play, bang, they dial up a cover 2 beater. Then you put Mish Powell, just in no man's land with no leverage when they ran that over route away from him. It was like, oh my God, Mish Powell one-on-one. He wasn't in one-on-one coverage. It was a great scheme to get that guy. But every single shot play that they dialed up early in that game, well, actually throughout that game, they hit. And, it was kind of crazy. I was really just waiting for the real Miami Hurricanes to show up. And finally, they did. But, if you look at, there's an analytics account on Twitter, Parker something is his name. And he puts up a post of the success rate disparity between the winning team and the losing team. So you can see how successful their plays were throughout the game. It wasn't close. Like, Miami was like 4th highest difference between winning team and losing team in a 1-point game. Like, this game, it was frustrating for me because if you look at the numbers, right? And actually, I leave the stats page up until this show for this reason. If I were to tell you that Miami had 205 more total yards, if they had 140 more passing yards, if they had double the rushing yards, they had a 30-13 disparity in Miami's favor in first downs. They held the other team to 2 out of 10 on third. Miami ran 86 plays to the opponent's 49 plays, right? And Miami held the ball for 37.5 minutes. If I told you all of that and you hadn't seen the game, you're like, bro, so y'all won by 3, 4, 5 touchdowns? Like, it was... and again, so all this soliloquy let me wrap this back up. Cal was saying, and Cal people continue to say, one play here or there, and they end up extending at the end of the game, whatever, and end up winning. I respectfully submit one or two plays of the home runs that they hit, they foul that pitch off, or they, or it's just a long loud out to the outfield or something. It's not a home run ball. Miami wins going away. And that's not even including the fact that Cam Ward gifted them, the worst play of the year. Like, what are you doing on this? And I know he has the bravado of excellence, right? Sometimes you have to kind of have that fuck you attitude. You know what I mean? To really tap into greatness. I get it. But do not insult my intelligence by saying, well, I've done the exact same thing. You've not done the exact same thing. You've done kind of similar things. You threw across your body, going left, throwing right at Florida. That was tipped for interception. You've done a couple of those other ones where there's been people in acres of space as he's been running around and manipulating the defense. But it was like recess. It was like 500, if y'all remember that. You know what I mean? Just throw it up and into the middle of the defense, and whatever happens, happens. Cam doesn't do that. That was the worst version of him at quarterback. And it took all of that to get them that lead at 35-10. But like this, it really took such an outlier performance on the chunk plays by Cal, and credit to them, well coached. They were coaching circles around Miami after the first quarter was 7-7, but that second quarter into the third quarter, they were coaching circles around us, but it was only the very few plays. But then you look, actually they had 13 first downs. I don't know why, because I'm looking at the official stats. I don't know why the ESPN page says 12, but fine. You know why they only had that? Because 4 of those plays went for touchdowns. Like it was just, it was just frustrating on so many levels. I'm glad that we finally just cut out the bullshit, stopped just messing around and everything, and finally got it done. But yeah, it was a little bit of an interesting game, to be sure. Glad that Miami got the win. I was able to post my pre-written, bowl eligibility piece, which I know people were going to say, Cam, why did you pre-write this and have it in editorial? You're the bad juju. I would have just been the bad juju. But Cal just hit home run after home run after home run. And eventually they stopped making contact, and those big swings ended up as strikeouts. And Miami, really had control of the game. It just took a while to get it on the scoreboard.
Why was that not targeting?
Because he hit him with shoulder to shoulder. Like, shoulders and heads are closely. Absolutely. That was a vicious and violent football hit. It was not targeting, like, objectively. It was not. Like, and Fernando Mendoza is a runner at that time, because he's running down the field trying to convert. Credit to him trying to make it. And if you're talking about bringing his head into play, or, into the scenario of where he was hit, he saw, Wesley was saying, he saw that train coming and he turtled. So, hey man, like, I get that shoulders and heads are closely articulated. I'm not going to say that there was no contact. Right. It's all right here. The head bone's connected to neck bone connected to shoulder bone. Like, we all know, what it is. But like, he went in with the shoulder. Wesley did, his left shoulder coming across. He hit with the right shoulder as Fernando was turtling, because he figures out, as human beings are wont to do, I need to protect my internal organs from damage. Like, that's just a natural inclination of a person. It wasn't targeting because it wasn't targeting. Like, I hate to use the word to define the word, but it wasn't. And the thing is, the only reason why people wanted it to be targeting is the fact that they wanted Miami to lose, and they wanted Cal to hold on to this precariously gotten lead and everything. Like, people don't care
that's the case with every call.
Right, but people don't care about the rule. It wasn't like he came in like Chuck
Absolutely.
Cecil in '93. You know what I mean? But like, it's not targeting, but it was a violent hit. So let's call it targeting because I hate Miami.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's not why I'm asking you the question though. But you're right. I completely discard, and I have gotten into the habit of insulting my viewers on a regular basis, and I hope they take it the right way. And they must, because they seem to just keep coming back. But I let them know I don't really take your opinions as being worth much of anything, because you're just so incredibly biased, and that is the and it's proven just so many ways. But anyway, because that is the vitriol, and that is the angle that is taken on social media when something controversial happens in sports, that you can't take any of that as being logical, because everybody's taking it from their angle and then trying to prove that, not looking at it rash. I was looking at it as, okay, I want to, obviously I want the play to be called correctly. And I have from day one always thought that what was being asked of these defensive players is, now they're being taught, they're practicing ways in which it's starting to become, and I'm sure at this point has become ingrained in them to where it's more natural for them. But I thought initially, this is crazy to be asking these guys at a split second notice to contort their bodies and to be able to predict what their opposing player is going to do. I just thought that was ridiculous. But I was looking at two things, but you bring up a great point that negates these two. So I'm okay with your response. I was just challenging you to explain.
No problem.
I'm not standing in the opposing camp, but I saw the launch and I saw the crown of the helmet hit, which, if we look at when helmets hit in plays, it's basically every play of the game. Helmets
it
hit.
was high on the helmet. It was not the crown. The crown is like the actual tippity top. It's like a 3-inch radius like thing at the very top of your head. You know what I mean? So like even here is not crown, and you're like, but it's on, it's above your eyebrows, and that's not technically the crown. The crown is like, all of the way and everything. But yeah, it was a violent hit. Like, it was definitely like, if Jacked Up were still on and everything. And like, I mean, I made a noise here in my apartment at 2:30 in the morning that one of my neighbors actually spoke to me about on Sunday and everything, because like, bam, you know what I mean? But like, no, it was a clean hit and everything. And as Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle says, yeah, I've got to go 1-0 every week, except for this week because we're off. So, hey, yeah, just trying to do that. And it was a interesting journey to get there and everything. But yeah, I really, again, credit to Cal. They were hyped up. They were coached up really, really well. But the disparity of this game was not accurately represented on the scoreboard. Like, Miami dominated that. Like, we beat the hell out of Cal, honestly and truly. Like, we really, really did. They, again, if you go for these home run balls and you don't hit them early, maybe you stop throwing them and everything. But they had the opportunity to go for it. They went for it and they hit those plays. There's been so many times when teams have gone for those and not, and then, okay, well, now I got to punt and then things. But like, again, if you look at the raw stats, if you look at the advanced stats, if you just pretty much watch with your eyeballs, like, it didn't make sense why Miami was down 35-10. That's why I didn't really get stressed out, because I'm like, what vortex are, I mean, it was clearly the ACC After Dark vortex, but like, what alternate universe am I in? Because we are beating the hell out of this team on a play-to-play basis, but they hit these 4 home runs. So, singles and doubles, turn a double play here, turn a double play there, whatever. Sorry, all the baseball analogies. My Detroit Tigers are one player away from the ALCS. But you know what I mean? But like, they're taking these huge hacks. And when you stop making square contact, now all of a sudden it's 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. And that's what happened, but again, the scoreline did not accurately denote the disparity of this game. It really did not.
This has nothing to do with what anyone would care about concerning this game, and I just tuned in again for the last 5 minutes, but it was a somewhat poorly produced ESPN broadcast. What little I saw,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's not because Reese Davis was sick and didn't sound like himself, because that was my initial response was, that sounds like Reese Davis.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure, but I thought it has to be Reese Davis because any big
He
college
sounds
football
like Reese
person,
Davis.
it sounds like Reese Davis, number one. Number two, if you watch as much college football as I do, you know the sound of everyone's voice. Plus,
Right.
ESPN's not hiring someone who sounds like that,
Right.
So I
Right.
thought, well, it's got to be Reese Davis. And then I'm like, wow, he's having a rough time, boy. It sounds painful. But I'm talking about from a production standpoint, I was wanting replay. I get very few replays in the last 5 minutes. One particular play, I want to replay on just about every play of the game, basically. I want to see, was that a pass breakup or did that guy drop it? And I hate when they keep moving to the next play, especially when it's not a hurry up offense. But the Xavier Restrepo play, we did get a replay, but I got a replay of an ISO on Restrepo, and I don't know what happened.
On the
I'm wanting to
77
see
yarder.
the Cal defense. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to see where did they go? What is going on here?
I mean, it was backside safety kind of thing. It was the same concept that Cal hit on the one after the fourth down, where they stopped us and then they hit the throw for 51 directly after that. It was the same concept as that, basically putting the backside safety in conflict or putting the defender in conflict and then running to open space and yada yada yada. Yeah, I wanted that. But hey, there were some what's up, Kenson? There were some calls that were missed. I saw people were like, hey, on the last RPO that Arroyo scored on, Miami offensive line were blocking down the field. Call it. Fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. You want to go back and look at the Javid Best? Jesus. Wow, I did go there. The Jaden Ott touchdown on fourth down when he clearly was a full foot out of bounds, right? But it was up the Cal sideline, but so you couldn't see it during live act. But during the play, I was like, he seems like he went really close to that sideline. You got the reverse angle of that? Like his foot is fully over onto the white. You know what I mean? Well, it happened in the game. Like, hey, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? And like, cool, I'm fine, with that or whatever. But even if you're like, cool, give me the 5 and it's second and goal on the 10 or whatever. When, Cal, I saw somebody who tweeted it well. Like Miami had 4th and 12, 3rd and 20, and 3rd and 17 on that final scoring drive. And y'all want to talk about one play, and y'all were up 4 scores. You're 35 to 10. You know what I mean? I get that it's tough, and I get that you're looking for the one, what is the golden ticket to make what happened not have happened, that you found a way to close that out. I get that. Jaden Ott didn't score. Objectively, he stepped out of bounds. Can we talk about that? No. Okay, there's this here. There's that. Like, there were other calls to look at, and it's just like, well, you want to look at everything, or, they're just trying to help Miami and everything. Miami got helped by allowing Jaden not to score up the sideline when he clearly stepped out of bounds? Really? I don't really necessarily follow that logic. But, hey, in the end, yeah, moving to 6-0 was key. It was another incredible instance of perseverance by this entire team, and everything. I saw, the cinematic highlights, Cam McCormick hyping, guys up on the sideline saying, hey, man, play for the guy next to you. Play for him. Play for him. Play for me. I'll play for you. We got to play for each other at this point. And it was the in-game version of, I went to Cranbrook, and we were not good at basketball when I was there, and that was my sport. And in districts, we played at Country Day, Detroit Country Day, Shane Battier, Chris Webber Country Day. And I think that we were down 65 at halftime. And definitely had the play for pride. Hey, We wear the CK on our jerseys. Go out there, represent yourselves, our schools, your families, play for pride. That was what Cam McCormick was talking about. It was definitely play for pride at this point. What else we got? Go out there, do things the right way, play with pride, and lay it on the line. And unlike Cranbrook against Country Day basketball, which is subsequently changed 25 years on, but I digress. But yeah, like we were able to persevere. So that was the real thing that you want to see from there. You have big time players making big time plays. Malik Barrow making a couple great plays. Wesley Basaint on that final defensive play. Ruben Bain with a sack to get off the field. Kiko Mawanoa on the last, on Cal's last offensive play, making that interception. And I know people wanted him to bring that back. Miami won by one. If you return the pick and kick it, it's still 8 points. So you know what? Hey, we have the ball down. I'm going to slide down, go celebrate, and a Mario Cristobal coach team took a knee to run out the game. Poetic. And really, yeah, just a credit to this team, a credit to everybody just, sticking through, doing their job, and coming up with the plays that they needed to. And, Cal went in the fourth quarter. Yeah. In the fourth quarter, they had a 5-play drive for 8 yards, a 4-play drive for 21, and the last drive, which was 4 plays in 0 yards. In the fourth quarter. Like Miami had seldom gotten off the field until they absolutely had to have it. So I know that Cam Ward and the offense and everything walking them down, but in any sport, comebacks start on defense. You got to get stops and scores. And after throwing the pick six, it was kind of inverted. It's okay, now we got to get score, stop. But you have to get those stops. And credit to the defense, who was struggling and up against the ropes for a while. And like I said, getting coached circles around. But they turned it up. They dialed it up when they needed to. And you pair the stops and the scores, and that's how you get to, 39-38.
All right, folks, we always appreciate your comments and questions here on our Miami show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time with Cam Underwood from State of the U. We've been doing this a long freaking time, and we appreciate you being here. We got Paolo showing up with this one. An Atlantic Coast Conference game ended at 3 a.m. LOL.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think I posted the bowl eligibility piece at 4:05, the good, the bad, and the ugly at 5:15. I don't think I got to bed till 5:45 on Sunday morning. Yeah, I was there was definitely sunlight coming in my apartment. I was like, all right, cool. So we're just gonna go that. Yeah.
Knowing that, and had I thought that through, I would not have made fun of you about the naps last week.
Look, you were
I wasn't thinking about the backside work.
I was definitely thinking about the backside of content creation and being up and having the discussion, and then I love YouTube on my PS5, so I'm able to multiple screen things. So I watched the post game pressers when they got live as they got uploaded to YouTube. So I saw the Fernando Mendoza and Cade Uluwave, one, and he was so hurt. Oh, poor little Tink, Uluwave, that is, because he was so hyped up. And I'm glad they finally called that personal foul for unnecessary roughness early in the game, because he was doing that bullshit on every single play. And I'm like, dog, you got to call it, otherwise they're not going to stop. You know what I mean? Standing over players, pushing them down late, all kinds of stuff like that, the little ticky-tack stuff. I'm like, you got to call that, because if you don't call it, then they're going to keep doing it. And he was so hyped up and everything, and yeah, sorry, buddy. But yeah, Justin Wilcox is, the Miami players and coaches, and coach, because only, the head coach speaks after the game, but watching those late and, integrating some of that stuff into what I wrote. But yeah, no, I was definitely thinking on the back end of the game, I still have work to do, timeline for why I took a nap.
And you're right. That's when the officials need to jump on that, is in the first quarter, because I hate when it's the last drive of the game and something like that comes up, and it's I want the play on the field to decide it. Yeah, it got called. It should get called, but I don't want unnecessary roughness or
Right.
some kind of taunting penalty to work into the factor that clean that up and clean that
Right.
up in the first quarter. Show
You set
everybody
the
what they
rules of
need to do.
engagement.
Yeah.
And I mean, sorry to talk over you there, but like,
Yep.
but they didn't really fully do it because Isaiah Horton got a penalty rightly for kicking at someone,
Oh,
but there were 4 dudes laying on him, and the officials are right there, and they're just letting them pile on at the 5-yard line, and like trying to twist legs and ankles and knee, you know what I mean? And eventually, like, yo, get the fuck off me! I'm gonna kick at you. And I get it, you got to keep your composure, but like when your ankle and knee are getting twisted and everything, and there's 3 dudes on top of a 210-pound receiver, yeah, eventually there's going to be a reaction. So I was like, I wanted not like super Gestapo kind of, like really heavy oversight, but like you called the one on Uluave early. I thought that there could have been another one called second, third quarter, because they were still being that super amped up, chippy after the play stuff all the time. You know what I mean? And you just gotta curtail that kind of stuff. And look, Jacoby George got another penalty after the play. I'm really sick of that. Isaiah Horton, I'm super sick of that. I hate to see it. I'm not as tired of it with him because like that was so out of character. Like if he's doing that, I need to know what the scenario is because he's not that guy. If it was Jacoby George with another one, oh, okay, I would have understood that one. You know what I mean? But still, I just a little bit more. But still, like, hey, let guys be physical, let guys be emotional. But like all of that extra. I'm not, because you're not going to let Miami do that. So call it both ways.
And you're not too happy with Sammy Brown.
I'm not. I'm really not. I mean, Miami. I'm writing a couple of pieces right now for State of the U that are going to go up. Interim reports. Shout out to Kenson. He knows these. Well, everybody who's been in school recently, it's your middle of the quarter. Grades. Like, hey, this is where we are now. It could stay here. It could go up, down. Depending on your performance. But this is your interim grade, halfway through, and we're halfway through the season. So I figure, hey, let me, pull on that kind of thing from when I taught. And, it's really the Xavier Restrepo show at wide receiver. Isaiah Horton's really stepping up. Jacoby George is so sometimey, and I'm tired of the every week penalties. And Sam Brown, like, I get that, like, we brought you in and we're paying you this NIL money, but like, where is the return on investment? Absent the one play against USF up the sideline. Great, cool. Cam saw you, you ran, you caught it, and outran everybody. But other than that, I don't know, man. Like not really happy with numbers 3 and 11 at wide receiver. Not really at all.
Sam Brown on Saturday, 4 catches for 43. Chuck C, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your contribution. We do this every Wednesday, folks. Bring a friend or 2 or 50 with you. We've had some nice crowds as of recent. Let's keep it up. We can have more. So let's keep it going. And again, thank you for being here. All right. We had a super chat come in last week that we weren't able to get to because it snuck in right under the wire. But we had, of course, taken note of that, Cam in particular. So we can deliver on that. And I will look up to see who in particular made that super chat request. But Cam, which one was that?
The top one in our behind the wall chat. So ranking the units on this year's team versus the best unit of that unit in recent memory. So the quarterbacks in this year versus the best quarterback unit recently, kind of stuff, which was good because, hey, doing hurricane prep and everything down here. And I meant to say this off the top. I hope that everyone is good and safe. If you're in the path of the storm, hopefully you've evacuated. If not, I hope that, again, you and your families and property are all safe. You and your families always come first. So, please take care of yourselves and avail yourselves of any help that is there if you do need it. Luckily and thankfully, it's going, for me, it's going to a place other than directly here in South Florida. But we're still I did my normal prep that I do, get some non-perishables so that I have some stuff here in the house in case we lose power. Ironically, was it last week? I think it was last week. Like 30 seconds after I signed off, lost power. And it was crazy because it was only 30 accounts here in Fort Lauderdale. So it's like my building and 2 other buildings on this one side of the street. But literally it was like, cool, see you, log off, gonna go make some dinner, on my electric stove. I was like, oh, okay, cool, right. No. Anyways. But yeah, so I did the research to look this up and everything. So if we go down quickly, and I will try to go as quickly as I can. At quarterback, obviously this year, Cam Ward is that dude, leading the country in passing and passing touchdowns and total touchdowns responsible for with 23, 20 passing and 3 rushing through 6 games. I don't know what else to tell you about that. The 2 most recent would be 20 and 21 at quarterback. So that would be De'Aaron King's full year, 2,600 yards plus about 550 rushing, a total of 27 touchdowns with N'Kosi Perry and Tyler Van Dyke behind him. And then 2021, when De'Aaron King came back, got injured, and Tyler Van Dyke had his ACC Rookie of the Year season, just short of 3,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. All 3 of those are actually pretty good position room units, especially because I didn't even mention, Emory Williams or Reese Poffenbarger or Judd Anderson, because it's a unit thing, not an individual thing. But Miami has the best quarterback in the country this year, by far. So, yeah, that's going to put this year's list or unit atop the list for me. Running back is an interesting one. Miami's super deep in the backfield this year. 5 game-ready running backs. Damian Martinez, Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle, A.J. Allen, who's kind of the forgotten guy in this group, and then Chris Johnson Jr. The production is better than you would think. It's 184 yards a game rushing. But in 2018, Travis Homer had 985 and 4 touchdowns, and DJ Dallas had 617 and 6 touchdowns. And in 2016, that was the last time we had a 1,000-yard rusher. Mark Walton with 1117 and 14 touchdowns. Joe Yearby with 608 and 7 touchdowns. And the speed back, Gus Edwards, with 300 yards and a touchdown. Because, Gus the Bus is a great, kind of sound. But no, he definitely was a scat back. Honestly, on overall talent, I would take this year. On production, I'm probably taking either the 16 or 18 running back room. You have 2 guys in Homer and DJ who were, a great compliment to each other. And, in 16, Walton was really, really good, you guys. And then Yearby with 600 and, Gus in there as well, who's still in the league. It just, I would lean one of those other ways just on the way that this year has gone to this point. At wide receiver, we just kind of touched on the fact that I'm not really pleased with 2 of the 4 receivers, because we really have run 4 receivers this year. It's been Restrepo, George, Horton, and Sam Brown. In 21, the Tyler Van Dyke season, that was Charleston Rambo's record-setting year, 79 catches for 1172 and 7 touchdowns. Mike Harley had 500 plus and 5 touchdowns. Keyshawn Smith had 403 touchdowns. And Xavier Restrepo, as a freshman, had 373 and 2 touchdowns. So he's been in 2 of these, obviously, because he's the number 1 guy now. Or 2016, again, a really good offense, in case you guys have forgotten. That was the record-setting freshman year of my guy, AR-82, Amon Richards, leading the way, 934. Then you had Stacey Coley, my guy Malcolm Lewis from Miramar, and Braxton Berrios, who's still in the league as a freshman that year. Honestly, I'm probably taking 16 with AR as a freshman before the injuries and things like that over this group, because those 4 all could play and kind of rotate. I mean, the 21 season was like Rambo and the Pips, you know what I mean? Like it was all Charleston Rambo. And it was a great season for him. But yeah, I'm going to go probably with the 16 group. There's still some to be desired in the wide receiver room for growth and development and performance for Miami. At tight end this year, you have the return of Elijah Arroyo. Thank God, because last year tight end was pretty much useless in this offense. 35-year-old Cam McCormick, and then you have Riley Williams and Elijah Lofton, the true freshmen. And the other units would be the 2020 tight end unit, which was Brevin Jordan at just short of 600 yards and 7 touchdowns, and Will Mallory at 330 and 4 touchdowns. Or, say it with me again, 2016, where you had David Njoku in his final year, his redshirt sophomore year, 698, but 700 yards, 8 touchdowns, and Chris Herndon, still in the league, 334 and 2 touchdowns. This is tough because I think Elijah Arroyo is a really, really good tight end. He's going to start in the league for a long time. He can be a very high draft pick. McCormick, he's going to go pro in something other than sports just because he's my age, damn near. But, you know, Riley Williams and Elijah Lofton, they have great potential as well. If you're looking for overall depth, probably this year. But if you're looking for top-end performance, hard to go, you know, to not take a group from 16 that has 2 guys that are still in the league, still playing, and Njoku, when he's not injured, still starting and, you know, dominating games. So I said, I'm actually going to mark these down. I said 16 wide receiver, 16 tight end, and probably 16 running back. That's crazy. But the depth of 24 running back is really, really great. Offensive line this year, by far. The comparable years would be 2020. That was John Campbell, Ja'Kai Clark, Corey Gaynor, DJ Scaife, Jared Williams, who transferred over from Houston a year after, or with De'Aaron King, with Zion Nelson and Navon Donaldson, or 2017, which is Tyree St. Louis, Trevor Darling, Donaldson's freshman All-American season, Casey McDermott, and Tyler Gauthier at center. Yeah, I just think that this group is better across the board. And you have guys like Maui Noah. Enjoy him for the next, 20-something games, because that guy is leaving after 3 years. And I know Markel Bell is not a finished product, and he has gotten beaten for a couple of sacks this year. Other than that, he's been dominating people, blocking out the sun. And that's a guy who came off the bench because Jalen Rivers has been injured. When have we had that kind of depth where starter gets injured and you bring in somebody else who's pretty darn good? And Matthew McCoy at left guard was rotational with Ryan Rodriguez. Rodriguez started the opener, got injured, hasn't played since. And I mean, personally, he's a bigger body. I like that in my offensive lineman at 6'6", 310. So, I was pushing for Matthew McCoy to get that job. I enjoy it. But still, even if you're like, dude, but he was beat out by this other guy who started in the opener and haven't missed a beat. When you go back to the 17 team, that, or things like that, we were talking on here so many times about Miami not having tackle body types where you're having to play Trevor Darling and Casey McDermott outside when they're clearly guards. But we have to play them at tackle. We're not in that position anymore. So those are just the offensive positions. On defense, this year's Bain, Barron, Alston, and Mesidor at defensive end. The other ones would be 2019. That was the 18.5 tackle for loss, 15.5 sack season by Greg Russo, along with John Garvin, still in the league, Trayvon Hill, and Scott Patchen. And 2017, that defense, trusty Trent Harris, the cyborg himself, Joe Jackson, Chad Thomas, and Demetrius Thomas, or Demetrius Jackson, excuse me. It's hard to go against that season from Greg Russo, man. I know that we have talent, in multiple areas, but again, 2 of those guys are still in the league as well from the 19 team, and he was just record setting. So I'm probably going to go there. Although, again, if you're looking at the overall depth, I didn't even mention any of the freshmen at defensive end. So that's not even mentioning an Armando Blunt who plays inside outside. That's not mentioning a Marcus Lightfoot. That's not mentioning the Booker Pickett Jr. or anything. So if you're looking for the depth, I think this year, but from the high end performance, the Greg Russo season. Defensive tackle, Mesdor plays there. Also Barrow, Cook, Justin Scott, and Ahmad Moten. In 2022, that was Leonard Taylor and Daryl Jackson, who's not Florida State, along with Jared Harrison Hunt. Or my answer, 2018, that was the 37 tackle for loss, exaggeration for comedic effect, but you get what I'm saying. I think it was like actually 23 tackle for loss season by Gerald Willis III, along with Tito Odenigbo, Pat Bethel, and that was Nesta Silvera's freshman year. And he did play plenty of snaps that year. So yeah, GW3, man, he was the destroyer of worlds. Like he made life tough for a lot of guys. At linebacker, I'm going this year. You have Kiko, you have Wesley Basaint, and Popo Aguirre has taken a huge step forward. Also, Chase Smith rotating in a little bit, but making some great plays when he's been out there. And Malik Bryant, linebacker, but he's been more on the DN side, so I would put him over there, especially from the Virginia Tech game. The other year would be 2019. That was Shaq and Pinckney's senior year, along with Romeo Finley and Gilbert Frierson playing striker. Cornerback this year has been Porter, OJ Frederick, and Dione Hill. 2017 was Michael Jackson, Malik Young before his career-ending injury, and D. Delaney. But my answer is 2022, which has guys who are still in the league, Tyreek Stevenson, DJ Ivey, and Corey Couch being able to play inside, which is where he was always meant to play. I'm sorry, I know you want to be a cornerback, but buddy, you're a slot. You're only 5'8", but being able to actually play there and everything. So I would go with 22. And then at safety, we already know this year's been a struggle. Powell, Harris, Patterson, the freshman, and Markeith Williams. Now, this is tough. In 2022, we had All-American Cam Kinchins and James Williams. And then in 2018, we had senior Jaquan Johnson and senior Sheldrick Redwine. It's kind of a toss-up on which one of those. I went with the 22 season with Cam, All-American Cam with a K, but that's pretty... I wouldn't be mad if you're like, yo, I'm sorry, give me Quan and Redwine, who were born in the same hospital on the same day, lived on the same block, played their whole life together. Like, all of that is true. Hey, if you're like, yo, give me those two, I'm not even going to be mad at you. The last one, I think, is a coin flip. It is this year's kicking duo of Andres Borregales and Dylan Joyce versus the other Borregales, Jose Borregales and Lou Headley in 2020. That was the year that he won the Groza Award. Do I think that the younger Borregales is going to win the Groza this year? Probably not. But yeah, actually, I'm probably going to go with the Groza year with the older Borregales and Headley. But I mean, between those, there's not really a wrong answer. Like, they're both great kicker and punter duos and everything. So yeah, but I really credit this person who asked this one, and there's another question that we're going to get to that I did preparation for. But when you go back, you look, man, I picked running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends from 2016. And like that's where you see, okay, this was building towards the 2017 season. If only Brad Kaya had stuck around. And then on defense, I picked defensive end and linebacker from 2019. And then cornerbacks and safeties. So the whole secondary from 22. You know what I mean? Like, we've had parts and pieces here and there, and it's done this, but like this year overall is where everything seems to kind of be coming together. And you have enough on offense to cover for some of the shortfalls on defense. But it was a really interesting kind of trip down memory lane to say, yeah, within like the last, especially because it was like the most recent good version. That's why I didn't go back to like 05, 06 or anything, but started at 22 and just 23 and just worked my way backwards. But it's really interesting seeing that, like, like 16's offense numbers, like 22's defense. kind of lockdown. You know what I mean? So it was interesting to see all that.
Yeah, boy, there were a lot of names there that I have not thought about in quite some time.
Nor I until I looked it up. But yeah, so interesting stuff.
Falconer TRX, appreciate you
There
being
he is.
here. Checking in. Super sticker. And also Falconer says, riding our Milton on the West Coast. Love the show. Be safe, man.
Yeah, definitely. Be safe. Take care of, if anything that you need to do. So yeah, y'all be safe over there.
So our next question comes in, and I will take note, or maybe all of you should take note. If you're looking for a researcher or investigative guy, I'm apparently not the one to choose, because I have done all sorts of searching for the name of the individual on our Facebook, and I'm not even active on the business platform Facebook for the Voice of College Football. It's there someday. Hopefully we'll get to it, and I cannot find this message, but fortunately we took note of it. Cam took note of it, and so we have it. And this one is comparing the third year roster and staff of the Mark Richt tenure of 2018 would have been his third year. Manny Diaz in 2021, and of course Mario Cristobal now in 2024. Before you get started, Cam, just curious, why does everyone refer to Mark Richt as CMR, Coach Mark Richt, and they don't seem to do that with everyone else?
That was a thing that they started at Georgia, that deep South kind of thing and whatnot.
Right.
So, hey, Coach Mark Richt, CMR. So it was just a thing, and so we just carried it over. But yeah, that started when he took over up in Athens. So yeah.
All right, that makes sense, because I just wonder, why did they do that with him and they don't do that with anyone else? Got it.
Yeah, and we kind of tested it out, keeping that kind of naming system with Manny Diaz and everything, and I did it for like a week or a month where I was like, nah, Manny, like it's like no. Anyways, but yeah, so, and this is funny because I forgot that this was the third year of each organization. So I went and I was like, dude, this other year was better. And so I started my research that way, and I was like, no, moron, it was specific. So I got halfway done and I had to start over again. So that should kind of give you a hint as to how this is going to go. CMR, Coach Mark Richt's third year team and staff in 2018. That team went 7-6. That was his final year. Year 2 was better. That was the 2017, 10-0, and then, blew it all at Pittsburgh year. That roster was 46% blue chips on the Bud Elliott's blue chip ratio. Let me use the full trademark name that is in the video game, by the way. If you didn't see it when you do your recruiting, you can go to, I think it's championship contender on your team grades and everything. But literally it says Bud Elliott's blue chip ratio. He literally has trademarked it, which he should, and everything. But yeah, that team, it did have some players. That was Rozier, Homer, Dallas, JT4, Cager, Harley, Langham, Brevin, Will, a mid offensive line, decent defense that had great defensive tackles. Again, that was the Gerald Willis, Destroyer of Worlds defensive tackle season. Terrible kicker and punter duo. That was Zach Fiegels and Bubba Baxa. The worst that we've seen in recent memory. I would wager of a Power 4 team. It was truly abominable. The staff, you had Thomas Brown and Ron Dugans as token offensive coordinators because Mark Richt was calling plays. So they gave them the co-OC title to be able to pay them more money. Rumpf was on-field coaching at the time. He has transitioned into the recruiting department, which I think is a better move. John Patke, Stacy Searles, who is the offensive line coach back at Georgia. Jess Simpson, Stephen Field, who's retired from coaching and also in the recruiting department, directing that department. Todd Hartley, the tight ends coach at Georgia, was here. That's the one off of this staff. Todd Hartley. And I know Thomas Brown is coaching still in the NFL and everything, so he's a very great. So I would say those two off of this staff would be Thomas Brown, who's in the league, and Todd Hartley. Great coaches. The name that I have not mentioned is John Richt at quarterbacks coach. And it was a novel idea, but no. Like that, he was on par with the kicker and punter thing. Like that's, and and I said on here, like, CMR needed to use his network and get him promoted out. Maybe he tried that and couldn't. This is why he owns his own gym and does quarterback, coaching and like on the side or whatever John Richt does and everything. And he's a good guy. He didn't have the range. Manny's third year, 7-5. Year 2 was better. 55% blue chip ratio. That was TVD's rookie of the year. So the 2020 season with Derek King, where the COVID year, we redid the schedule and all of a sudden, oh, hey, now y'all got to go to Clemson next week type stuff. Had a decent, not great offensive line. You had some names on defense, Nesta, Zach McLeod, Al Blades, Bubba Bolden before whatever happened with him. Amari Carter, the targeting god himself. And that's the other thing I meant to say. Miami fans, we know what targeting looks like because we had Amari Carter for 4 years. Shut up.
I remember that.
I mean, sheesh. Gervin Hall, Gilbert Frierson, DJ Ivy, and Stevenson. The coaching staff was decent. DVD has gone on to USF for more seasoning. Jess Simpson was there. Blake Baker was the defensive coordinator, and he's actually built his way back up to being at LSU. Again, Steve Field was there. Rob Likens, who's been all over the place as a wide receiver coach, coached multiple first rounders. Hickson, who's from Broward County, Eric Hickson, the running backs coach. And Travaris Robinson, T-Rob was on that staff. That's probably one of your highlights. But I would say the best coach on that staff, SMU head coach Rhett Lashley. Like that was the job he did there got him the job where he is now, along with his very good friend Garen Justice, who was the offensive line coach here, who followed his good buddy Rhett back to Dallas. So yeah, I would say Lashley and T-Rob being the best coaches on that staff, even over Manny, because Manny was not a great head coach. Then he learned quickly in those 3 years, as you see what he's doing at Duke. But like, I think that he needed that time at Temple to get Duke to maybe get Miami. It was really just inverting everything, and you try. And I get why we tried to kind of have him grow up really quickly. It just didn't work. And then you have this year's Miami team, dude. I'm going with this year's Miami team. 61% blue chip. And that doesn't even account for transfers, which means Cam Ward, your Heisman Trophy candidate / potential frontrunner currently, is not even included in the 61% blue chip ratio at present, right? And I don't really. Okay, I would take Rhett Lashley over. Jesus, what's his name now?
Dawson?
Yeah, I would probably take Rhett Lashley, but Dawson's still doing good work, but it's not really, really bad. But I mean, like, on any side. But I mean, yeah, if I had to take where this roster is, where the recruiting is, and everything, like, when I'm on the sticks on my PS5, and of course my coach is a recruiter first. My ethos, as soon as I took over, my first run, I'd started it before all the updates and everything. So when I first got the game, and I'm 2/3 of the way done now because I've been playing it since then. San Diego State Aztecs. And I said, we're going to build them up, and it's going to start with big dudes close to the ball, offense and defense. And then we're going to get speed elsewhere. And, I'm going to build it in my recruiting rules image. You know what I mean? Dude, this team in real life is doing that. And also to the point where I've been on here and told you, when we signed that class with Francis Mauanoa and with Samson Okunlola and all those guys last year, I said in 2 years, this year or this class is going to, again, focus on offensive line. We already have 5 offensive linemen committed, and we're going after some 4 and 5 stars to try to upgrade in that room right now. Bro, you have more talent than you can shake a stick at, and it's pretty much everywhere. on this roster. Yeah. There are some positions that can still maybe use a transfer here and there and something to upgrade. But, when you go just yesterday and, oh my Lord, I am losing my mind because I went to say the child's name and I'm Joshua Moore. Thank you. From West Broward High School, 6'4", 205 wide receiver. He flips to Miami from Florida, to whom he'd previously been committed. And he might even keep growing because I think I read somewhere that Joshua Moore's dad is like 7 feet tall. Literally, like no exaggeration, actually 7 feet tall. So I'm not saying he's gonna be as tall as dad, but like if he ended up being 6'5", 6'6" X receiver, cool. But like you went out and got that, and you're not gonna like go down without a fight. Andrew Ivins and Cooper Patanga at 247, they have a podcast, and last signing day, they I forget which one it was, but they called Mario the Grinch because they're like, bro, he's gonna go steal all your presents on signing day because that's what we do. So you're already in a better talent situation than previous. You're using it and deploying it better than previous, and you're recruiting better than both of those coaches combined. And we're undefeated in top 10 in the country halfway through this third year. Like, we need to win one more game anywhere else this season to equal the win total of both of these coaches in their third year. What are we talking about? The third year for Rick and for Manny Diaz was terminal because of performance. So I say all that to say, I mean, and look, it was a great journey again to go and do the research. This current staff, this current third year for Mario Cristobal, absolutely, regardless of what happens. You know what I mean? Like, even if knocking on this wooden desk, God forbid, regular season ends up 8-4. I don't think it will, but in this hypothetical, even if that were to be the case, that's still a step forward from what these other coaches did in their third year. So yeah, give me this current year's team. Absolutely.
And to our 2 viewers who sent in those requests, thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. And also appreciate Cam doing some digging on that. Although I know it's all up here, but you had to organize it and look back. And
honestly, all that was not. No, I needed to go and utilize my resources of Googling
back here.
I had ideas. It was like kind of in the ether, but I needed to actually look at it to kind of pull it down. But yeah, no, it was really interesting to look at that kind of stuff and whatnot. And it also helped me when I was doing the interim grades. So I'm going to finish those up today. Those will be up tomorrow on the website, stateoftheu.com, by the way. So offense in the morning, defense in the afternoon. So be sure that you're on the lookout for that. We're kind of maybe another piece about redshirting. We'll see. Specifically at wide receiver, because long story short, Josiah Trader has played in 4 games already to this point of the year. I guarantee it. I looked at the participation report myself earlier today as I was thinking about it. He has played in 4 games. So either like Jacoby George and Sam Brown need to step all the way up, or one of those jobs got took because I'm putting him out there because I'm not going to burn a red shirt for like one play a game. Like, he has to actually play. But between that and finding ways to integrate Chris Johnson Jr. into the offense where it's not still just a flashing like gadget play, him ball kind of a thing. Because even Reese Davis, and again, shout out to him. Dave Fleming had a family emergency, so he's like, he wasn't able to make it to the game, which is why Reese Davis hosted game day up at whatever in the morning, West Coast time, and then all day and just went straight into game prep because he hadn't done any of it because he wasn't supposed to be calling the game and got sick along the way. So shout out to him for a yeoman's effort. But like, even he, in a substandard amount of preparation time, was able to call out, hey, Chris Johnson Jr. is on the field. Usually when that happens, they just throw him the ball because he's the fastest guy on their roster. And it's always, if you see 24 come on, it's going to him. I would love to find more snaps so he's less of a novelty and that explosiveness is integrated into the offense more. But again, it's like all-star balloting. At the expense of whose snaps are you going to give him more? Is it going to be a wide receiver? And then you kind of sneak him out there. But you don't necessarily want to do that. Why? Because you want to have that speed of the mismatch. So now you're talking about, do I take more carries away from Mark Fletcher, who I personally think should be your starting running back, by the way, or even more from Damian Martinez, who you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars from the transfer portal to be your starting running back? Are we taking them away from Jordan Lyle, your number 3 back, whose red shirt is gone, by the way? Like, he's played in every game, so like he's not redshirting. Like, where do these snaps come from? I don't necessarily have the answers. I'm going to think about it, but whatever. So there's just a lot going on. But the thing that did not go on, like so many other teams last week, Miami did not lose, is one of two teams, to this point of the year at 6-0, already bowl eligible. The other being your Indiana Hoosiers at 6-0 through 6 weeks of the season. But yeah, getting some guys back from injury, hopefully next week. Jalen Rivers, I believe, is going to return this next week. Somebody else who missed a game is supposed to be coming back as well. Not Jamari Brown, not Ryan Rodriguez. There, you can got. Oh, Elijah Alston missed the Cal game. He'll be back, but those other two, you can pretty much forget about that. But yeah, that and more, and all kinds of good stuff up there for you. So yeah, please hit the like button and please come on over to State of the U and fan with us. Because we do have really great stuff. Like I said, the interim reports, probably some other stuff coming up through the week. And yeah, always great to see you guys out there. Always great to interact and everything. And thank you for listening to me wax poetic on these two deep research questions for the better part of the last half hour. But it was a great conversation. I love that. And, I'll probably have something about recruiting up this week if I can get it finished. But if you're always on the website every day, you'll see it when you get it. So please come on over and fan with us, and I will check you guys next week.